Hello and welcome to the Strategic Bookkeeper podcast. I usually do my intros after I record the podcast because I learn so much when I'm doing interviews. However, I'm doing this intro now for a couple of reasons. One, we never do video podcasts either, but the lovely Emily and I are going to happily jump on the video today. So mainly because it is a video podcast, I'm doing the intro live. I am recording this video interview with Emily Sinderberry because a lot of bookkeepers globally ask me, Jeannie, what software do you use? What software couldn't you do without? And there is a couple of pieces of software in my bookkeeping practice, and Ignition is one of them. Okay, I talk about it in my first book. I'll be talking about it in my second book, which might be out by the time you watch this or listen to this. But I thought, rather than expand a lot on how I use Ignition and more, I would ask my tribe, that is the paying members inside our transformation program, if someone would jump onto a video and just talk to me about that. And Emily said yes. So without further ado, I'm Jeannie Savage, the Strategic Bookkeeper. I've been in practice for 14 years, but more importantly, 5 years in, I achieved a lifestyle practice. This means I scaled my business, could take my hands off the wheel, and draw a nice six-figure income while being time rich. And that's what I call my dream on my terms. I was recently awarded Women in Finance Innovator of the Year, recognizing my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact globally. The Strategic Bookkeeper is my life's work, and the opportunity to help bookkeepers globally achieve the income and lifestyle that sets them free absolutely fills my cup. Please do connect with me on socials at the Strategic Bookkeepers Way private Facebook group, or shoot me an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Emily, thanks so much for taking time out from your incredibly busy schedule.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, so we'll jump in. So yet again, this is really to benefit bookkeepers all over the globe so that they can just hear Emily and I have a chat about Ignition. I mean, everyone already knows I think Ignition is phenomenal, and I kicked myself only because I didn't pick it up earlier. I think there's just so much tech these days. Sometimes, I don't know if bookkeepers will relate to this, but for me, I got to a point where it was like, it's just proposal software, isn't it? Can't I just do this in Microsoft Word? Can't I just use emails? So I resisted. Like, I just don't want another piece of tech. And when I picked it up, I found out it's not just proposal software. And the time and money I saved and the increase in conversions and more, I was just like, Jeannie, you're smarter than this. Why didn't you pick it up early? So, Emily, I'd love for you to start by just telling the listeners, because I love hearing about you, because what you do in bookkeeping is really, really cool. Just tell everyone about you, your practice, anything that's in your heart to share.
Yeah, thank you. I am the founder of EJS Business Services. We're a virtual online bookkeeping business. I've been in practice for 6 years now, I think, and we're a team of 5. We're all rural women spread across New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia, so we're quite spread out. We're all local team. We don't have any offshore team, and our clients are predominantly, we focus on the rural and agricultural sector for Australia. So lots of farming and agricultural clients, agribusiness services, professional services. There's a bit of a variety in there, but that's us in a bit of a nutshell.
It is in a nutshell. And Emily has a new bub. So she's in the background, she's got kids, she's got a lot going on. And if you're a bookkeeper listening to this anywhere around the world and you ever want to connect with Emily on the farming side of things, right? Or you want to refer to Emily because you hear from a client with farming, this is absolutely her micro niche. She runs a farm with her husband herself. If you want to creep her on social media like I do and look at her on the tractor, we're going to drop all the links to Emily's business in, and I'm sure Emily would love to talk to anyone all around the world that needs to reach out to her about the farming side of bookkeeping. So the next question, I guess I thought might be just based on my own experience, because there's so much we could talk about, but you've been in practice 6 years. When did you decide to subscribe to Ignition?
Yeah, I signed up in July 2021, so 3 years ago. And I suppose the first 3 years, and when I say I've been in practice for 6 years, the first 3 years were definitely side hustle. I was still working full-time as an accountant, and there was a bit of study thrown in there as well. So it was definitely a side hustle and very small up until about 3 years ago when I took it full-time. And that's when I came across Ignition. I can't actually remember how that all happened, but I'm sure it was through the Bookkeepers Network, social media or something. I came across it, and it was a bit of a no-brainer for me at that point. I needed to start systemizing the business. I think I must have been pregnant with my first baby then too. So I was thinking about bringing team in to help me. And that's when I was like, yep, I need systems to help. And
right. Okay. Yeah. And it's kind of like tech, process, and team, right? And it's what I learned this when, or I developed this myself when systemizing inside my family's business from 10 to 100 million, no small feat. And I used to think of it as we have the tech, the process, the people. So it's like TPP, and in reverse, you have the people following the process and using the tech, and it's so powerful. And the first thing we need to do in our business is win work, right? The win the work, I talk about it all the time, the win the work, do the work. So with my tribe members, when they say, well, Jeannie, there's all this software and I'm just new, I've just started, but what should I get first? I always say Ignition, because Ignition really relates to the win the work side of things. It's how we present a proposal and make a promise to our client, as well as it does the practice management side of things as well. What would your comments about that be, being, thinking about those bookkeepers out there in solo? Would you agree that Ignition is that thing where it's like, oh yeah, you can probably do a lot of things in Excel at first, but Ignition allows you to onboard in the right way and make that promise?
Yeah, absolutely. I started, my engagement letters were a Word document that I would edit, save as a PDF, send it. I don't even think I was using like software signature back then. So I was relying on them to print it, sign it, send it back. Clunky. So absolutely, for time saving, it was a blessing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so because I was the same, I was using Microsoft Word thinking I'm so clever, right? I'm saving $5, whatever. And I'm like, I'm so clever. And my poor team, they had to deal with everything after it and this just shocking workflow. So how did you feel when you went from that to Ignition?
Yeah, it made everything so much easier. It was only me at that point when I did take it on, but it's just streamlined everything. And because I use Xero Practice Manager, I linked it straight into there in terms of like setting up my jobs and all the invoicing side of everything. That was all handled for me. And it was definitely the first thing that I was like, this is going to save me time, effort, everything. And it was a no-brainer to sign up.
Yeah, right. Okay, same. And so for anyone listening, I'm not sure how Ignition links with other practice management softwares. Okay, so depending on where you are in the world, in the Australia Pacific region, a lot of us use Xero Practice Manager, and Ignition completely links to it. So you've got that functionality. I've got questions here to ask Emily, but I feel like I don't want to go in any particular order, because a couple of things is, I know what dazzled me a lot when I started using Ignition, but I guess I'd love to know when you got in there, because I think for me, the fact that it's like accounting industry specific for us in the accounting industry as bookkeepers, the engagement letters, the fact that I could link it to Xero Practice Manager, which all of that saved us a lot of time and mistakes that we were making. What about you? What features did you love?
Yeah, the engagement letter side, the payment collection side was also one of the first things I loved. I think another thing for me, because I was still very much working out the pricing and packaging and all of that side of it. And so I found default service list that you can import in was really helpful, not to guide my prices necessarily, but to give me an idea. Like I could look at some of them and go, oh, wow, I am really undercharging and undervaluing that service, or I'm potentially on the higher side. Maybe I need to reconsider. But that was one thing I was definitely like, there was a couple of services that I saw in that list and the pricing they had on there. And I was like, well, I definitely need to be valuing myself more for that service. So that was really helpful, particularly at the beginning. That was something I valued a lot, was that default sort of service list that you can import.
Yeah, I like that too, because one of the things we'll chat about in a second, because it kind of breaks my heart, is I've heard directly from Ignition that bookkeepers, especially solopreneurs, because you know what it's like when you're one person, and a lot of us bookkeepers, we're mums as well as solopreneurs. And a quick word on how to work with me. You can join the waitlist for the Strategic Bookkeeper Transformation Program, which is a world-class, world first, described by members as mind-blowing, which typically pays for itself within a month and has a full money-back guarantee. Simply go to the strategicbookkeeper.global/waitlist. I also have a pricing academy with a calculator and my entire suite of productized services, plus other courses and resources on my website. Email me if you have any questions, okay? And they start the trial and they just don't get there with the setup. But I actually found the Ignition tech reasonably simple. So with that services library, I found kind of similar. I opened it up and I found I could compare what we had to what they had. I could be inspired by things and I could start to understand more about how to product stack. You know, it's like, okay, well, here's the real bookkeeping. Here's when people need payroll. You don't need to have everything in one service offering. You can product stack, which means we can move to this simplified suite that you and I talk about and that you learn inside the program. So I really loved that as well. And the direct link to, you know, the invoicing direct link to your accounting software, the payment processing, for all of that, it was phenomenal for us as well. So question, did you immediately start using the video functionality and the brochure functionality?
No, I was using it. Like I was using the video functionality, but I was only using the standard default video that kind of comes with it.
Okay.
And in terms of brochure, I did have my own, actually think when I signed up to Ignition, they did a brochure for me.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, so I was using that originally and I've now since changed to the brochure that we use through the program that you've taught us. I was using those features, but the standard ones, they weren't customized or anything.
Me too. I started off, I just thought, oh, Ignition have this great service where they can do a brochure for you, especially if you take up, I think it's called the Pro Plan. That's what we did. And anyone listening, we will also make available to the listeners today as something really special, the offer from our little black book. So Ignition has now got an amazing solo plan, so to support solo bookkeepers. But if you want to go for the Pro Plan, we're going to give you a special offer that gives you a 6-month kind of deal. There's not restrictions in there. There's not a whole lot of fine print, but I know the Pro Plan allows you to get a brochure. Now, inside the transformation program, you also get a done for you brochure as well. We call it our $1 Million Storybook brochure. And actually on that, Emily, I'd love to know, because I was the same as you, right? I had the stock standard brochure from Ignition, and then I started getting into video sales letters, and I just did my videos over my website. And my practice, Cloud9 Strategic, run by Joe McMahon, is a client of the Strategic Bookkeeper as well, right? So we've evolved with everyone to now have our $1 Million Storybook brochure and also the video sales letter recorded over the brochure. I'd love to hear your before and now and just your comments on that.
Yeah, same thing basically. So before it was just using that stock standard video and brochure, and then now using the $1 Million Storybook brochure, the video sales letter, talking as you advise over the brochure, and including that in every proposal. So, and I get a lot of feedback.
You do? Okay, that's what I wondered. Like, do you see much change and feedback and impact from that?
I do get a lot of comments like, oh, thanks so much for the video. It was fantastic. And, you know, just little comments like that. I think it gives them more clarity and they appreciate it. So, I do get a lot of feedback about that.
Yeah, and for anyone listening, I think video sales letters these days are essential. So if you pick up a version of Ignition that doesn't have it, I recommend that you send that video to your prospective clients to watch in an email. Okay, so you can do that if you pick up the solo edition. Okay, so a couple of other things that I would love to know. Any other favorite features that you can think of right now?
I suppose like as time's gone on, I love the package feature, the add-ons, the new add-on feature. I've used a couple of times and I'm liking it. I like the dashboard and just being able to see a visual of, how things are tracking, comparisons to last year too, the pipeline, seeing when funds are kind of coming in, all those. I just love it all, to be honest. I think it's all really helpful. The templates are great. I think I use all the features. I couldn't do without it now. It manages everything for me.
Yeah, me too. And I love, it was like probably 18 months ago when it came in, we started using where you can make one of the packages recommended. And I love that as well. Yeah,
I do that as well.
Yeah, and that plays into the 6 pillars of persuasion, which I'm totally obsessed with. Okay, amazing. Now back to, it kind of breaks my heart that bookkeepers, they don't move ahead only because it's, that I'm too busy and I don't have time. And I just wondered whether you, me, either of us have, advice for bookkeepers on once they start the trial, getting it done so that they can continue with it so that they get the benefits of it.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to reflect back to when I first started. I did get a lot of support from my account manager, who was fantastic. When I say a lot of support, we had a few sessions together on Zoom. It wasn't like I did most of the setup myself still. It was only the odd question kind of thing that I would ask her. But I think just start small and do it as you go. Like, I don't think you have to go through the whole service library and amend it all before you can start using the program. Like, I still tweak it as I go. Like, I still jump in and fix up service descriptions or change package templates or update our engagement letter. Like, that's something that's on my list, is to go through and review it and make some changes there. So I think just don't make it seem like a big overwhelming thing that you have to get set up completely first. Like, just start using it, send one proposal and then jump in and make some minor tweaks the next time you've got to send a proposal. I think it's a great program in that you can implement it slowly, if that makes sense. Like, you can kind of implement it as you use it. That would be my tip.
Okay, that's such good advice, because that I can be like a bull at a gate, right? So you say that, and I was just going to go, just give me the hours and the attitude. Do it in a day, right?
Yeah. Look, and that is, I think my main things was like, set up the integration to Xero Practice Manager and those underlying things straight away. Like, do the important connection things to help streamline it. But in terms of going through all the services in the list, like, you don't have to do that in the first day. Like, get the important bones of it set up, and then the other stuff can come later.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap that up into progress over perfection too.
Absolutely.
That comparison is the thief of joy. You don't need to get in there and be amazing in 2 seconds. Okay, that is because I'm really impatient with tech. And so I often think if I can get in and use a piece of tech without being in the fetal position, it must be okay. And I remember I jumped in, started using Ignition, and same as you though, I went with the pro plan, which, as I say to everyone, we're going to drop a link into this podcast that is going to give you a special offer around the pro plan in case you want to use the support that Emily and I used. And I think, Emily, thinking back, if I didn't have that account manager who jumped on and did that, it was only like an hour, right? So jumped on, did the implementation support, which you probably don't get it in the trial, right? So maybe this is what holds bookkeepers back too. Like, I was like, right, let's just go full steam ahead with this. Go. Then I got the support from HQ, and then I jumped on with this amazing Ignition team member who just walked me through everything I needed to do in the software. It was amazing. And then it was like, okay, they'll do my first brochure, progress over perfection. Like, it doesn't scratch the surface of what we've got now because of what we developed over 13 years for the tribe. But I think if I didn't have that support, I might have been one of those bookkeepers too that went, I just didn't get there. I feel overwhelmed. I'm just going to do this. I'll do this next month. And so I think my advice to bookkeepers is, like, if you listen to the community around Ignition, we all know that the time and money saved is far in excess of the fee they charge. And so if you just back yourself and go for it and use the little offer we give you, then you can get that support from HQ to get you going much faster. And one other thing I've decided I'll get my team to drop in is we're going to give you a little special thing. So I'm going to give you a conversion resource. Okay, you're going to get, and Emily's going to go say, what? You're going to get my needs analysis. I personally will give you a short course on conversion just to complement what you've got there in Ignition. So I feel like this was really cool to talk about because I think we've dived into what might be some of the barriers. And the other thing is reach out to us at the Strategic Bookkeeper and just say, I want more info, because we'll help you with anything on Ignition. We'll do more podcasts. We'll do whatever you like. I think the last thing for Emily, to keep it all short and sweet, as I know what my comments on time and money are, but what would your comments be on the time and money saving using Ignition?
Yeah, I haven't got any numbers around it, but I know, especially at the start when it was me and then I did bring my team member on, it saved me from needing an admin team member. And I know that goes against what you say in terms of that should be your first team member. But if it saved, having to do any manual invoicing, following up proposals, like the automatic reminders, like all of that was a game changer. I didn't need somebody to help me keep on top of all of that. So I let the tech be my team member for a while there. And the cost, like it did seem daunting and it seemed like a lot. But I think it's one of those things that when you commit to something like that, it's amazing how the work starts flowing in to cover it, or, something changes to help you and support you with that decision. So I couldn't speak highly enough of how much time and money it's saved. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer.
That's what I found frustrating when I joined, is it's like, oh my goodness, I've only just picked it up and suddenly I still have a wonderful executive assistant and she just didn't have to do all this stuff anymore, which meant that we saved all that time and money. And also even we took up the BSB and account option in Ignition. So we saved a lot on payment processing. And then, not having to go into your practice management software, maybe you're integrating the job, maybe you're not. But for us, actually, the fact that the service level agreement became so clear, you know what I mean? That promise was so easy to draft really, really well, so that it was like, here's what's included, here's what's not included, and then to have it filed immediately in our practice management software. Because, I said recently in a coaching session, your promise to your clients is the beating heart of your bookkeeping practice. There's nothing more important than your ability to keep your promise. And then the veins from which the blood flows is like the communication, right? So promises kept and comms. I think it's the beating heart and the veins. I bet you feel like me. It's like all the things that Ignition does, I don't even remember them anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, when you first mentioned favorite features, I was like, what features are there? And that's because it's just natural. Like I just use them all and they just all integrate
Yeah. So when you subscribe to Ignition, from my point of view and Emily's point of view, it's the same as bringing on an admin support, because it's doing all these tasks and yet without the human error and the muddling through.
Absolutely. And it makes it quick and easy to, there's so many quick ways to duplicate a previous proposal and just, change the contact and, it can speed up things so quickly from that respect. So, and you don't have to worry about emailing the wrong attachment and all of that kind of thing. There's so many benefits.
Yeah, it's amazing. And even like little things like you can go in and have a play and do it. Like I'd have, say, a client where I know that they are keen on a service. So to wrap my head around what they needed, I'd be like, I just start to draft in Ignition and product stack and figure it out as I go, which is cool as well. Yeah. Amazing. All right. Well, Miss Emily, once again, we will drop all your links in case, because, even if you are way over in America and you're a farming bookkeeper, I'm sure that Emily would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Love to, message anyone, connect with anyone. Happy to anytime.
Yeah. Also, if you are thinking about joining us inside the transformation program, it's great when you've got Ignition because you get our productized services to pop straight in there and use. So I think that is a wrap. Thanks so much for coming on, Emily.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.
Okay, my friend, now it is time to take action. So, what are you going to do with what you learned today? The way I see it, you've got two options. You can go it alone to try and save some money, or you can back yourself and go for it and join my tribe. And let me tell you, we are knocking it out of the ballpark. That's not a sales pitch. That is me serving you, dare I say, courageously. To find success, I 100% know you need the mechanics, which is like the keys to the kingdom, but you also need to get your mindset right and be super productive. And these are all things I help you with inside the program. I could go on about this forever because I really want this for you. Have a prosperous week, and I'll see you in the next episode.